What is up, YouTube and all my fish keeping friends? How is everybody doing out there in Fish Tank Land? I don't know how my audio is today. Let me know early in this stream just so I can get it right because it was acting up last week. I don't know how it's acting. Tampa Tom, of course, was in here first in the chat. It was good to see him. Christy, Turbo Fish, what's up? Greg Jones, how are you? Jesse, HC Aqua, how are you, man? William Jansen. Jess, the shrimp granny, how are you? I've got an awesome guest here today, you guys. There's so many awesome people here in the chat. I want to go through that. King and Queen Cichlids, Candy Overhauls, good to see you here. Cichlids 23. So I have Grant Eder with me today, and I'm really excited about this. I've wanted to do this for a while. I met him about 3 years ago or so. Really awesome shrimp breeder here in the United States. But we'll get into that. I was just kind of going to give it a second for some people to get into the chat. Amber from Big City Betas, how are you? As you guys noticed, there is no music today. No music. I do need to turn off my AC. I forgot to do that. Maybe I'll just let the AC roll. Amber says the audio is good. All right, cool. I can relax. Priscilla, how are you? Good to see you here. So yeah, no music. I got a little hate mail there or something, and I'm just we're gonna lay off the music for a little bit. Amber didn't come up with a playlist anyways, so I'll just put the blame on her. Shrimpies, Models and Aquatics, how are you? Okay, I don't want to waste too much time. I already got a super chat. King and Queen Cichlids, thank you for the $10 super chat. I really do appreciate that. Can't be here long. That's awesome. No, enjoy with family. Enjoy this. Enjoy your Sunday. That's awesome. I appreciate the support. Thank you so much. There's 17 people strolling in here. Yeah, I don't want to goof around too much time here. Let's just go ahead and just get into this. I don't want to have him waiting either. I don't know. You guys, I mean, besides that, I mean, I can get into it, but no real updates here. The box is still behind me. The shelf is not up. The rack is not up yet. Work has come first, but that's coming this next week, so look forward to that and a bunch of other stuff. But anyways, let me go ahead and just get into this. Let me see. I'm playing with a bunch of different camera angles now so that we can actually look at some of these shrimp today. Grant, how are you?
Good, man. How are you?
Doing all right. It's good to have you here, man. It really is.
Well, I'm happy to be here. I love watching your channel and happy to finally be on it. I know we talked about it before, but I was hoping maybe you can make your way here to Florida, but this will do.
right. For now. It's crazy. I met you. The first time I met you was 2017 at the Aquatic Experience.
In
and
Chicago.
Yeah, I won't get into details, but it was I think how I originally met you was it was a crazy evening. I don't even know. A crazy evening hanging out with a bunch of shrimp nerds, which was awesome. But that was really fun, and then I pretty much have seen you at almost every convention since then. And if people here in the chat, I'm sure a lot of you know Grant. For the ones out there that don't know Grant, you're a shrimp breeder, mostly Caridina shrimp, correct?
No. Well, I mean, there's just a lot more Caridina shrimp than there is Neos. So I have just about every Neo variety there is.
Oh, okay.
So there's not really much more I can branch out into. At one time, I had like 40 different tanks just for crossbreeding Neo Caridinas, and almost all of them, except for 2 tanks, ended up in wild. So I've since scrapped all of my Neo tanks inside. They're just all out in the greenhouse. No more crossbreeding projects. I'm going to do some selective breeding and work on a few projects that way. But I'm done crossing Neos. I'll stick with my tanks and leave them for breeding Caridina.
Right. I'm already getting ahead of myself. So what got you into this in the beginning? What started all this for you?
So when my girlfriend and I were first dating, she wanted a chameleon. One of my buddies had a bunch of chameleons, and every time we go over their house, it always seemed that I was always looking at his tanks for a good hour every time we hung out. And they weren't tanks, they were cages. So my girlfriend kept asking me for one, and it was her birthday one year, and I got her a chameleon. and I was just staring at this thing all the time. It was right next to my bed, and I just did as much research on the thing as I possibly could, and I found out that it was going to cost a decent amount of money to keep this one chameleon. And I was like, but if I just got two chameleons, I could breed them, and I could kind of use that to pay for the hobby itself.
Right.
And next thing I knew, I had 42 different reptile breeders, whether it was chameleons or I did leopard geckos as well.
Oh, nice.
And then I had anywhere between 30 and 60 babies that I was raising up. And, I'd have about 90 eggs in the incubator that were all chameleons just because of how long it took for the incubation process for those
Right.
guys. And, I did a lot of Craigslist shopping where I was looking for cages, and I was looking for, somebody that was getting out of the hobby that was selling off their leopard gecko collection or their chameleons or anything like that. And no matter what you searched on Craigslist, you always got this ad for red cherry shrimp, raise and breed, make money on the side from your home, very easy, yada, yada, yada. And it was just one night, I don't know. I don't remember why. I just couldn't sleep. And I was scrolling through Craigslist, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to hit this ad. I'm going to see what this is all about. And the whole reason why I was into reptiles and breeding the chameleons, I really got into the panther chameleons. I was trying to make a purple bar ambelobe. And I know they're kind of popular now, but when I got into it 8 years ago, there wasn't really too many around, not any breeding pairs or anything like that was producing, true purple bars or anything. So I got in it for that and realized the reproduction rate. You have a chameleon, you pair it up with another male or female, and they're together for 3 days. And then you have the eggs. It can take them a month to lay the eggs. And then you have those eggs, you incubate them for anywhere 9 months to 16 months before you have babies hatching. And then from there, you have to wait 2 months before you're able to sell any of them. But if you want to know like the true colors of the chameleon, you got to wait till it's at least a year old before you can tell if it's a stunner or, he's never really going to shine or not. So just that time process through and through everything, it was so time consuming. And it would just take me so long to get somewhere. And I'm young, so I was about it. But, I stumbled across the shrimp one, and I was like, man, the reproduction rate is a lot quicker. You can have one shrimp who's pregnant. In 30 days, she'll release her eggs. Those babies will hatch.
Right.
And within 2 months, 2 to 3 months, you can have that shrimp that was just born pregnant in its own cycle. And you can tell, relatively quick with shrimp, first few weeks, if it's going to be a stunner, if it's going to be a cull. So, just for the genetics and trying to create something different, it just really struck me. And, I just couldn't sleep one night. And I read this guy's Craigslist post, and then he had a website. And I followed and read every single page of this website, even to the point where he had pond schematics for above ground ponds. Right. And I built 2 of the ponds out back. So, I really just took it where this guy was starting with red cherries and moved on to blue velvets. And then he was going on to the next colors. And he made it seem like one color was harder than the next. And so I did everything at first according to how he was doing it. And my dad had asked me if I wanted to buy his landscape business. And I no longer had time to take care of crickets and worms for 2 hours a day before I even got started taking care of my chameleons.
Right. No, exactly. I hear you.
And they're so hot, so they're in the garage. You're working in there, you're sweating, and then you're going to go do landscaping, which is, you were mentioning about you're thinking about turning the AC off. I would never do that here, man. I'm sure it's just hot, if not hotter, where you are than I am.
I can get away with an hour is fine. It's not gonna, because the tanks take a lot. I'm literally playing with it, and you see that. Okay, that's something we should get into, though. There's a lot that I really want to get into with you, but so you basically got into it because for the same reason I think a lot of people get into it, but it's rewarding. It's kind of like even guppy breeding because it's the return and the speed in which they reproduce, and you have babies, and it kind of makes it easy to have fun with it. I think one thing that's really awesome with the difference between Caridina and Neocaridina is that Caridina shrimp kind of they breed a little bit more true. Isn't that correct? They kind of a little bit easier to kind of get to something faster. In a
So,
layman's terms.
so with Neos, I'll just get back to my story. I started with red cherries, and I had one tank, and it turned into 3 tanks. And I was
Okay.
always on eBay, and I never looked any information up besides this one guy's website. And I just assumed that this different shrimp that are available on eBay were all the same type of shrimp, and that you can use red cherries and just crossbreed them and get the crystal reds.
Mm.
And how wrong was I? But I didn't research anything other than this guy's website and looking stuff up on eBay. And so I had 3 tanks that were just booming with red cherry shrimp. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to get the blue velvets now. I'm going to move up my stage. And I bought shrimp off of eBay, and they all died within the first week except for one. And I kind of quarantined him for a good month. And, I was like, oh, man, you're alone. You're all alone in this tank. So I decided to throw some of my red cherry females that were kind of lower grade into his tank. And all the babies ended up coming out being red rillies with blue bodies. So right then and there, that kind of like just went on with what I thought. I was like, all right, cool. I can crossbreed what I have to make new shrimps. And, I bought the crystal shrimps. I didn't have any RO or any active substrate. I bought the orange-eyed blue tiger shrimps, and I had a few babies there. The red crystals, though, nothing. So I was like, oh man, there's got to be some other information out there. And I did a little googling, and I stumbled upon the shrimpspot.com. And from there, I just read everything in and out, and everything said where you cross 2 neos from 2 different sources, you're going to get wilds. And I'm like, well, I took 2 shrimp and crossed them, and I got a different shrimp. So I know that's not a fact. There's a possibility that you can cross the neos and you can get something.
If you do them in a pond and you leave them and you don't do anything and you just leave them alone for a couple of years. If you did that and you left them in a pond for 2 years and didn't do anything, maybe they would kind of revert back to a wild type eventually. But right?
Yeah.
Maybe. But that's what it would take to do that.
But you got to think, I threw like 4 or 5 different red cherries in there, and they all turned out to be red rillies. And the culls from those tanks, I only ever got red rillies and red cherries. I still have that colony going today. That's the crazy thing. And I still get red rillies, blue bodies, and straight solid cherries out of that tank. And it's one of the only tanks I didn't move out there. It's like my true colony. So I can show you that later on in here. But it's one of those things where I ended up crossing so many after that because I believed that you could get something special, and I just kept hitting dead ends with wilds. Right. So I'm done with my crossing days, except for with Caridina. I'm just about crossing everything because there's not really any reverting back to the wild with Caridina. You're always going to get something different. And depending on what you cross, a lot of crosses ended up being more money than the original shrimp that you crossed. Where with Neos, 99% of the time you're going to cross 2 shrimp, you're going to get a 25-cent shrimp. It's just money down the drain, time wasted. So I focused my stuff on all the tanks inside are now paired.
Now, so another thing, something that we have in common with breeding Caridina shrimp is the temperature. I mean, the climate. You're in Florida.
Yeah.
Right. So you have like me. We have to worry about the temperature. You have to worry about it actually tanks being cool enough. If I went the other day, I had a bad day, and you've texted me, if you messaged me and told me about the same situation, but I went to work one day and I totally spaced it. It was cold in the morning. I turned off the AC, this window AC unit back here. I went to work for 8 hours, totally came home. The house is like 82 degrees. The tanks are hitting 80 degrees. And yeah, you have dead shrimp. Caridina shrimp. Everybody else in my fish room is fine. The Caridina shrimp, though, They need like my right now my water temperature is 72 degrees.
So I try to keep the house AC at 72, but with this heat index, my AC has been fluctuating depending on how hot the day is.
Yeah.
Sometimes I can't keep my house under 76, but still my tanks are staying under 74. So anything above 74, though, I kind of get worried about. Um, I actually, a few weeks ago, I had to tell my customers, I was like, hey, I'm sorry, but I can't ship your packages out today. I had a leak, or not a leak, a clog where my AC drains. And it was just such a hot day that the condensation building off of my AC in the attic, it was just filling up that pan. And until I got that clog out, it was just turning my power off within the AC's power off, sorry, within like 30 minutes.
Oh,
And
right.
I was like, I'm in the middle of getting packages done. And the next thing I know, I can feel just the hot air coming in. I'm like, man, I got to stop this. I got to worry about getting that clog and,
So
just
you
take care of the packages the day after. Because at the end of the day, it's the shrimp's health that matter to me overall.
so you like to keep. So what's your like go-to temperature for
72.
72 for the tanks? The tank
Yeah.
temperature. Okay, I've been trying to 72 between 72 and 73 and a half, maybe between 72 and 74, but I don't ever I'm trying not to ever go over 75 or even hit 75 if I can help it.
So
Which is
I don't know
crazy.
exactly how it is over in Asia.
Yeah.
Or where these shrimp are taken out of the wild. But I live right next to the famous Wikiwachi Springs, and constant all year round, that water is 72 degrees. It does not fluctuate. It comes
Wow.
out of the ground and it's 72 all year round. So I can only assume that the rivers where these shrimp come from, it's got to be, pretty constant, fairly the same temperature.
Or like mountain springs that are just at a consistent 72 degrees coming out of the mountains, like.
Right, and like axolotls, a lot of people, they don't think of those as cold water, but they're up in the mountains of Mexico. So you got to think the higher up in the altitude of the stream and stuff like that, it's got to be colder. So I'm gonna say down here in Florida, we're pretty much sea level everywhere. I'm gonna say that 72 seems to be the highest temperature for a stream.
So
At least far south of the equator.
So while we're talking about it, another question I wanted to ask you was, what is probably your number one most important thing to you? What's the number one most important thing, like element of keeping Caridina shrimp for you? Like, what do you? We were just talking about, is it temperature? To me, it seems like temperature is like that's like one of the most important things that if you can't keep that consistent temperature.
So temperature is really important because if you're breeding something and you're keeping it constant at 72 and all of a sudden your tanks fluctuate to 80, it's going to cause issues with a lot of things, so temperature is important, but I know breeders in Europe who are breeding Caridina in like 80 degrees Fahrenheit.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure it's just whatever, keeping it constant, that's the most important. So you don't want to have something in colder water and then it move into hot water right away. You can do that gradually over time, maybe, but some of your stock, some of your colony might suffer. The breeding might go down. It might go up in certain cases, but with shrimp, the hotter the temperature, the faster they may breed, but it shortens their life a little bit.
But would you say that?
I have a shrimp. What's that?
Would you say that that's like on a list? Would you say that's like probably like number one most important thing? Or
Number
would
one,
it be something else?
Constant. You don't want to change.
Just everything consistent, yeah.
Number two would be water changes. I had some things come up in my life where doing water changes came second priority for me. So I was, making sure that my fancy tigers and my galaxy tanks and stuff like that, they were getting their regular maintenance and stuff like that. But I was slacking on some of my other tanks, and you definitely see a huge slowdown in breeding, a huge slowdown in growth rate from babies to being juvenile, cell, etc. So I try to do all my water changes within a 9-day period. If I slack, it's got to be done within 2 weeks. I got to have all my tanks done within 2 weeks.
Wow, yeah. So when it comes, I guess another thing that I've talked about before, and I think it's important for people to understand is the gestation period for a female caridina, for caridina shrimp, and the effects that water changes can have on that. Do you not agree that like doing the water change at the wrong time can cause a problem with shrimp that are pregnant or like really close to dropping it? Some people believe that it will cause the shrimp to want to molt before they're ready to drop their shrimplets, and then they'll die.
So here's the thing. Like what people don't realize is most of the buried shrimp in all of the tanks, they're not on the same cycle. You know what I mean? So you gotta just keep things constant. You gotta keep it on par with what you're doing. You don't want to prevent a water change just because another female is buried, because you don't know another female who's not buried
Yeah.
is just waiting for that water change before
Right.
she is. You know?
Right.
So it's not something I worry about. I
Okay.
don't. I think a lot of issues with that comes from not having your water match what's going into your tank. You know what I mean? So somebody who's forcing a molt probably altered the parameters in the tank way too high. For the most part, all I'm really doing is taking out dirty water and replacing it with clean water that doesn't have any ammonias or nitrates or
So
nitrates or anything
so
like
here's an
that.
example for you. So if you were to do a water change with straight, like pretty much 0 parts per million RODI water, I could say 20% water change on a shrimp tank with that, without remineralizing that water first, that would do that, right? You could cause a problem. You would cause a shock by
So
remineralizing the water after you've done the water change.
so there's people out there who will drain their tank and then fill their tanks up with RO water and then
Okay.
add the minerals into the tank,
Right.
right?
But do you think that that could cause that shock rather than
Oh,
actually just
yeah,
feeding them good?
absolutely. And then the same person is saying that they're having slow breathing. You don't think that the two coincide?
Yeah.
So what I personally do is I have this trash can right here, and inside I have my pump, and I'll fill that trash can up with RO water, and then I add my minerals into the trash can, and then I let that run overnight. And I
Yep.
have 3 trash cans that I'll fill throughout the day, and make sure at the end of the day that I have all the minerals ready for my next day. So everything gets mixed overnight, and then I start my water changes in the morning for the next day.
Yeah. That's what I do. Same thing.
And
I use a garbage can. I got a nice steel base that I put on, not the one that Rubbermaid makes, because that's
okay.
too. It has a low center. It doesn't have a wide center of gravity. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't have a wide base. You could tip that
I'll
over
tell you
easy.
what, I fill these guys up, and I have them on the wheels that the Rubbermaid makes, and
Yeah.
I just push them and I slide on them, and they hold up just fine for me.
Yeah, they work for you. Oh, I've tipped too many in the restaurant industry. Maybe, taking out the garbage and losing them.
These are just used for inside the house. So I'm
Right,
sure
right.
people like my girl's family will come over and they see all the trash cans in the house.
Well, do you move yours around or are they stationary? They are moved around.
I move them around.
Okay, yeah,
So
that's
I have like I'll walk you around the house, but like
yeah. Let's
right
do
now
that.
I'm in the shrimp room.
Right,
I'm in here for 2 days just doing water changes.
right.
So I fill up all my cans in here for 2 days, and then I move into my bedroom, which is my next area where I go, and I'll be in there for a day. So the trash cans move to where I can easily access them and use them for my things.
Sweet.
And when people come over, my girlfriend makes me hide them. You know, I do my best, but sometimes they're full of water and they're not easy. So, but
Yeah, my next goal though is to put that away and just have it pumped around. Like I would rather just if I can get away with it, I just want to have a hose and run it across the room. I mean, I'm in a studio apartment, so I can get away with that. But that's my next goal because I don't want to move that around anymore. I'm gonna actually put it into its own space where it's kind of hidden away. That's the next step, anyways. I got some
so
stuff. coming.
My issue is like I just have tanks. Like this is one side of the house, and my bedroom is all the way on the other side of the house. So I need one very long hose.
Yeah.
I've got this big ass dog right here that, excuse my language, dang it. And he's just a pain. So next thing I know, he'd just trip over the hose and yank it out of wherever I was trying
He's
to do my water change.
the guardian of the shrimp.
Yeah, he's a big goof.
So what's your favorite shrimp you got? What's your favorite little project you got going on that you can share with us? It's not like a secret. So like, I mean, we didn't get into a lot of stuff here though. So people don't really know, but I didn't really get into it. You're an award-winning shrimp breeder. You win multiple awards at pretty much every convention or shrimp competition that you're involved in the U.S. And technically, right now, I mean, you have how many different kinds of shrimp are you? You're at like 72 or something.
83.
83, which technically kind of makes you. I mean, I can label you as I want to. Nobody else can just deal with it. But like one of the top or the top U.S. shrimp breeders, of U.S. U.S. bred shrimp. Like you're killing it. You really have a lot going on. It's pretty.
Have the most varieties.
Yeah, it's very impressive. Very impressive.
So this strain right here in front of me, it's very hard to see in camera. Like I almost never take pictures of these guys, and I can't figure out how to focus on this app or reduce the light. But the goal with this project is to have red and blue steel in the same exact shrimp. So a couple of these guys.
One second. Let me say something real quick, though. I want to say it out loud, but bipedshrimps.com is Eric Lucas's website. Candy, yeah, she retracted that. Anyways, no, your website. What was your website? It's the Garden of Eder.
Shrimp.com.
But it's the abbreviation, as you see in the stream. How I have the logo there. It is. Well, we'll find it. But I appreciate you putting out the links there, Candy. She's got a link here for your YouTube channel, and she was putting out a link to your website. But we'll find the right one. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, it's good. But I don't know if you can see it on the camera right here, but the shrimp in front of me has red and blue pigment, but it's more orange right now than red. But it's a work in progress.
Nice. I like that blue bolt you got over there.
Well, it's technically a blue steel.
Okay, steel. And so what's the difference? Can you explain that? Because that's something I think people get confused. The difference between a blue steel and a blue bolt, because genetically you can do two different things to get to those characteristics, right? So
he's actually an offspring of these guys, which would be like considered a low-grade steel at the moment. So he can't be a pure blue bolt. A blue bolt would be a pure Taiwan bead. It won't have any other genetics inside.
So there's no chance of getting him to getting a shrimp like that to get to like an extreme blue bolt kind of level.
So these shrimp actually are tangerine tigers crossed with shadow panda.
Okay.
So the blue is in the genetics, and you can see here, there's probably 30 shrimp. I only think there's 3 of them that have the blue bolt phenotype in it. So it's just a very low percentage of them come out. You can see the other blue bolt coming out now, not nearly as deep blue, but as they grow up, they definitely can gain a ton of color. Some of them will definitely surprise you with adult tanks.
Because that's what I think I have. I think I was sold blue bolts, honestly, but I keep breeding them out and trying to get to like a deep blue bolt, and I feel like what I really have is more of a blue steel thing.
So I have 2 cull tanks for these guys.
Yeah.
My first one is over here, and a lot of these are throwing blue bolts as well.
Mm-hmm.
And they just produce a ton of babies. They're very prolific. I can't get them on camera. It's very hard, but There's definitely two pigments on the heads, so it's just something that I'm trying to work on. And then my other cull tank is over here, and these are all the same genetics, same shrimp. And you can see some of them are throwing purple hues.
Yeah, that's
So
awesome.
this is definitely like one of my favorite projects that are in here. I've got a ton of super tigers
Tigers,
breeding,
yeah, yeah.
a ton of Michelins. And there's babies all over the walls.
So
And
what's like
then,
your biggest award-winning shrimp right now? That you've won probably the most awards with.
so they're in a different room. I've won two
That's it.
awards with these guys though, and these are tangerine tigers.
Tangerines, yeah.
And trying to see, like some of my females are just huge, very dark and orange.
I
So
like that grass.
yeah,
What are your plants of choice? Like, what are your like your top?
plants,
Yeah, just
like
for
moss.
just like a Taiwan
Yeah,
moss and
I just have like a little clump of moss in all of my tanks. Yeah,
yeah,
just some of them are different than others. I
some
know you like wild
sublacite.
shrimps,
Nice.
so there's just something wild in the shrimp room.
Yeah.
But yeah, just show off these guys real quick, and I'll move into my other rooms. But these are pure red line crossed with red tigers, and these are my F1s. I've got 9 tanks up here that I'm filling up, and those will be ready and cycled here when I'm done filling those up. So I'll
Oh,
catch these guys and give them
yeah.
their own tank, separate them out. And I do have some like normal red tigers in there that I'm going to leave them in here and let them
It's
breed out in this tank. So I have 2 tiger tanks going.
it's downright
But
addictive, isn't it? I mean, especially when you start getting these, you start getting different, different things coming from different shrimp. You start getting these different offspring, and you're like, you end up with, uh, you end up with a lot of tanks again, and it gets addictive, doesn't it?
yeah, no, it definitely does. And the main reason why I'm in it is for the genetics. So I got to have a little bit of everything that I don't have. And if I don't have it, it's because it's something I believe I can just make my own.
Those are
And
nice.
I'd much rather make something on my own than go out and spend $200 on it because it's something new. But I love these guys. I probably stare at this tank the majority out of all the tanks in this room,
Yeah.
just because they're so prolific. And I've got 3 tanks of these guys going. They're all different grades.
Not
Not all.
Nola Jane asked me if I'm drooling. Yes, I'm drooling a little bit.
And then so here's my green tiger project call. Lots of yellows coming out of it. I've got my nicer tanks out there. These are cheetahs crossed with galaxy ghost bees. And I have the galaxy ghost bees right next to them. I've got one of my aurora blue tiger tanks.
And that's the Brightwell. The substrate you're using there is the Brightwell, the fine, extra fine, right? Or
So yeah, right here is
cafe.
like a mixture of a bunch of different stuff that I've been using. And then here's a cull tank of my purples up there. So all 4 are the same genetics, just going in different directions with them.
Wow.
And I'm short on lights. Got a bunch of 72-inch lights coming in the mail. These are
Look at
some
those guys.
golden bees or red bolts or red steels. No one
Yeah.
seems to really know.
Right.
So
Right.
I got them off of Steve Ramirez.
I'm getting those from every once in a while. My blue bolts throw those every once in a while.
See, my original blue bolts before I started focusing on my Misuras, I'd get like 1 or 2 of these out of
Yeah.
like 60 babies, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
And
and I'm not seeing it now because I culled a lot of the white out. I'm trying to get to a deeper blue, so I was culling out the whites. And so that kind of stopped recently, but yeah, that's kind of, and I was thinking if I get enough of those, maybe I could, yeah, then you end up with another tank. One tank after another.
oh man, it's hard to get these on camera. But this is a crystal black and it has a blue nose.
Interesting. I didn't,
Really cool.
Wow.
And then I got my green jades in here. I haven't moved them outside, all of them yet. I was trying to make some green jade release, but it seems just as they grow up to adults, they all turn solid. So I just got a little tank of some green jades left in here. Big 40-gallon tank.
I feel like that was happening with some of my yellow King Kongs. Is that something that can happen, do you think? Like, I could swear
No,
that some
it
of my yellow
definitely
King.
does.
What's
It
up?
definitely does, because if you look here, these are my headless horsemen, I call them.
Hmm.
I can't see. There's another one running away.
Yeah, it's a whitehead.
Um,
Yeah.
I do have one in here that has turned completely solid on me, and with my Rillies, see, I have a Rilly here,
Uh-huh.
a bunch of babies here. My adult male, who's hiding somewhere in the behind the dead dying moss, dies all the way off and then grows back. It's the weirdest moss.
Hmm.
Um, but they as they grow up, some of them just turn completely solid. So it's been like a really hard project that I've worked on. This one was a really at one point, and the only reason why I'm really keeping her is because she's a female. Can't focus on this app, sorry guys.
You're good.
But the only reason why I'm really keeping her is because she's a female. So I'm trying to, just boom the project a little bit. So, but there, I'll walk you guys into the next room.
That's
Here's where we got
awesome,
my
man.
RO water coming out.
Yeah, I got a
And then
new. So what do you use for all your RO filtration? Just curious. Is anything brand name
BRS.
stuff or what's up?
It's a BRS unit,
Okay.
5 stage.
I've got something coming from Aquatic Life. They're sending me a booster pump to like, and then some other DI resin. Like I'm gonna put my stuff through like 3 DI resin cartridges, which is you can do it as much as you want, but it's just it gets expensive too. Replacing DI resin. Oh, that's nice. So you're doing that's immersed. That's Pogo Stimmons.
The Pogo's Health Arrive.
Yeah, Health Right. Yeah.
And then, so I'll have these set up with 20-gallon tanks going along here. I just haven't gotten that done yet. I need 20-gallon filters. Got one buried shrimp in here. Here's more tangerine tigers. And I think me and you have been talking about bacterial infection or bacterial blooms inside the
Yeah.
tanks.
Yeah.
And I decided to go through this tank and pull out some algae, and next thing you know, this tank spurred up like this today. I was like, son of a gun, trying to have all my tanks nice for you, but I don't know. It seems I haven't gotten any since I stopped using Indian almond leaves in my tanks. But when I was going through and I pulled off some algae out of this plant, one of the things I pulled out was a dead, dying, ancient Indian almond leaf stem. So I don't know. I'm convinced that the leaf matter plays a heavy key in
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it. I have mixed opinions on that. Yeah, it's interesting, but I think the key for me is I definitely boil and sterilize all of my leaf litter before I use it because you most definitely will cause yourself a problem if you just put leaf litter straight into a tank. You just take those almond leaves that you buy offline and just drop them right in a tank and let them sit at the top until they get saturated in sink. That's the wrong thing to do as far as I'm concerned. They need to be sterilized, heat sterilized, to get rid of as many of the water funguses and molds and any of that. But yeah, I'm sure putting any kind of organics in there, you're gonna increase the chances of getting a bacterial bloom infection in the water. Yeah, I got a tank. We're working on a year now, and I can't kick it. I'm still going. So I'm ready to just tear the tank down. That's the plan in the end. Those are beautiful.
Yeah, this is from Ray Haas. I got some red galaxies off of him, and I haven't really culled the tank or anything. I just kind of let them go.
You got some? Is that fish bone in there? You got some fish like that in the middle there?
Yeah, a couple.
That's nice.
But this is just my little hallway rack, and this is the first thing you see when you come in the front door. I had some melting. Gotta find some new plants to fill in some of the gaps. But here's some more Galaxy Ghosts. We've got some culls in here. I'll have a light for this tank. Some red pintos.
Oh, nice.
One of my green tiger projects.
Wow.
There's the main green tiger tank. So that one's nice and green. Couple nice greens, couple culls. And then
Well, you know your house is a nice, comfortable place to come hang out. You got how many tanks you working with right now?
138 are running
Okay.
right now.
Yeah.
I've toned down like a couple tanks. Like we can go in the room and you'll see. I just got this tank cycled. So these guys are the real champs. I've won 4 awards now with these guys. And if you actually look, this female right here, maybe not. Maybe she's not out right now. But I have a shrimp in here that's easily coming up on 4 years old. So
Wow.
it's not already 4. And then I got some orange eyes that I'm trying to mess around with their genetics.
That seems to be like the hot thing right now. Everybody's all about the orange eyes. Orange eyed tigers. It's
I'd like some orange eyed greens. Waiting for Ray Haas to get on his game. Send me some. Just messing with some crazy blues. Here's my Neo Cull tank. I gotta move these out into the greenhouse. But I left some shrimp in the tanks for you guys. I was gonna do that today. This is a buddy's tank of mine. Here's one of my projects. These are the lowest of grade of one of my lines that I'm working on. It's basically like a fancy black tiger, but it has the back stripe. And then you got some cheetahs. Super crystal reds. Here's my nanashis. Got a purple one over here. And these are my own. Like I bred these guys from scratch.
wow. So what's that substrate there that you're working with? That's just a different.
This is all Brightwell.
Yeah, Brightwell. It's just different color.
Yeah, that's the cafe, and that's the Escuro. And then up here I got some more super crystal reds. And then over here there's no light, but I've got some super princess bees. But here is my cardinal tank.
So you're probably going through. You're making about 150 gallons of water a day.
Yeah. Yep. I try to do it every day, but I end up skipping maybe 2 or 3 days out of the week. Some of my pure red line. And I don't keep a lot of shrimp in some of my tanks because I'm selective breeding. So this is like one of those tanks where I'm heavily working on the line, trying to
just force them. Yeah, just leave them alone and let them do their thing. Yeah.
So like a lot of people are like, oh, why don't you use breeder boxes? I have so much more success in just like a few shrimp in a 10-gallon tank rather than a breeder box, and they both use up the same amount of air. So these tanks are cycling. Here's one of my the same line of before, the fancy tigers with the back line, but these are reds. I can't get it to focus on this app. I'm sorry, man.
No, it's good. It looks it's awesome. It's good.
But I sold a lot of shrimp out of this tank recently. This is like one of my main Tangkai tanks. So there's not a lot in here, but farm little plants out of that and stuff too. Here's my original red cherry tank. I think that's a Yellow King Kong that fell out from above.
It did what?
Like,
yeah. Would you say what? It fell into there?
Yeah, I have no clue how these Yellow King Kongs hold on to the siphon hose attachment, and I'll find them in like another tank. Those in Stardust.
So that's another question for you here is what would you recommend as like a first carry, because everybody's scared to get into Caridina shrimp, right? Because it just seems like it's such a harder thing to work with. What would you recommend as like a first Caridina shrimp?
The Tangerine Tigers, 100%.
Okay.
They're super hardy. These are more super princess bees. Got 2 tanks of them running.
And
what's that?
No, I was saying I've got the Yellow King Kongs, and you were telling me those are pretty Those are pretty hardy too,
Yeah.
though, right? I mean, they.
The yellow King Kongs are just as hardy as tangerine tigers. So are the super tigers. The three of those shrimp are just beyond hardy. Even the stardust. Um, I do see a little issues with the stardust with the heat. With Irmo, I had a little bit of a wipeout. No matter what I do with this tank, if I put on any light, it will produce this algae. So it gets the light from the tank above.
Mm-hmm.
There's just some mono shrimp in there. No, we're showing. These are all a buddy's shrimp. His tank is cycling. He wanted to start over fresh, so I'm holding these down for Nick Bresno.
Nice. Okay.
But he's got a lot of nice, interesting babies. These are from my original colony, the same that I showed you guys that I was working on with the Fancy Tiger backline. This is another project that I like working on. These are basically tank ties, but I've made my own. These are the higher grades of the same line.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got some purples in there, and the Galaxy dots are coming out with the backline, and
Yeah.
I've made all these from scratch using just tangerine tigers. And these are the same exact line that's in the room where I'm trying to make the steels that are blue and orange in the same head.
Mm-hmm.
It's just different selective breeding from different stages, and I went in different directions. But these are probably one of my favorites. I'll stare at this tank for a while, but these weren't out in that room. I keep these. The living room stays a little bit cooler than the shrimp room. Everything that's in the shrimp room is what I thought was very hardy. They're all my own shrimp that I bred myself and then moved them out there. These are some yellow King Kongs. And I cleaned some of the fronts of my tanks, but I try to leave everything a little bit dirty unless I'm taking pictures.
Yeah.
So like
the shrimp are gonna eat that stuff, you know. I see my shrimplets on the glass eating that stuff. It seems like they're having a good time with it.
Right. But so these are my own galaxies that I made. But with these, I used Aurora Tiger instead of Tangerine. So they don't look as cool, but they're still doing really well. And then I got blue bolts here. And then these are the culls from the tank I just showed you with the other Auroras.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I was telling you about the Caridina, or the Neos that I have, the cherry shrimp with the back line, and I'm like, I was trying to get rid of it, but it seems like it's so hard for me to get rid of it. I was like, I think I was asking you that. Is it worth? I mean, is there any value in like nice dark red cherry shrimp that has a solid back line?
For the most part, most of the back lines seem to be painted or higher grade in the first place. So I always kept them with my line. And there's a couple people who are stingy about it, but for the most part, it seemed to be just with the yellows that didn't want the back line. What happens if my phone dies, man?
You'll come back if you go back into the other room. It can cut in and out because we're on a different teleconference. We're separate from the stream. It won't affect the stream anyways. You can come back into it. You can go to that same email link and come back in the worst case scenario, yeah.
But these are all pulled from my safaris. Here's some more safaris. I've got a bunch of tang tie. I got a bunch of soil. Ready to do more tanks.
I know, I'm jealous, all that soil. I'm just like, no, don't show me that. And it's all Brightwell. You have hundreds of pounds of Brightwell soil down there on the bottom shelf.
I got more coming for the greenhouse too.
That's another thing, we didn't even touch on that. In this daytime, we didn't even go out there yet. And I'm at an hour right now, I know. It's like it's impossible to show all this stuff in an hour. You have it's just way too much. So you're actually doing stuff outdoors as well, with Neos only though, because of what we talked about in regards to temperature, right? I mean, it's just not realistic to try to do Caridina shrimp in a subtropical.
I think I am gonna give a go with some tangerine tigers out there and see how they do.
Yeah, see, I think yellow King Kongs. I think my yellow King Kongs would be fine outside because, yeah. Go ahead.
I got more Aurora blues in here. I try to
Yeah.
keep like 2 tanks of everything. Here I got a couple more tanks. I think you guys have seen it about everything, but what's out here? So I got another tank of my award-winning Black Tiger Orange Eye. I just set this up not long ago. I've got some shadow pandas up here. Got the raccoon tigers up here. I don't know if you guys can see. This is on top of my fridge, so it's a little hard.
No, I think it's really, people need to realize it's a real honor to be able to see this. I mean, I really do have an impressive collection going on there, and most people, I mean, unless they to come over and have the opportunity to come over, they're not going to see this. This is really, I appreciate you showing all this.
Oh, no problem. I try to share it with as many people as I can, but unless you're making a trip to Florida, and I've had a couple people who made the trip and then their wife chased them out within like 30 minutes and you didn't even get to see everything. I felt so bad. So you're all the way from Michigan.
Oh, what do you got there? There you go.
I've won some awards with these guys.
Yeah.
As well.
This is and then about them, man. I just love that blue. It just gets me.
Shelby, go to my email. Or
can you do the greenhouse?
Yeah, I'm gonna run out to the greenhouse before my phone dies.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, well, I'm getting close to an hour, so it's perfect. It'd be awesome if we could see that. If we could see the greenhouse. Oh man, I would have guppies in there. Are you kidding me? That would be full of gup. I'd be breeding. Oh, nice. Awesome.
Well, everything will come up in a second, but my phone's gonna die, and I don't think you guys want to see koi and turtles.
No. We'll skip the koi and turtles, but that's cool. That's cool. So you're gonna be at Aquashella this year, next one. All right. Are you gonna do the aquatic experience as well for the shrimp competition?
Yeah.
Awesome.
I'll be at both.
Yeah. If anything, you're getting choppy. I don't know why. Because maybe because you're using Wi-Fi on the inside. Yep. If you're on Wi-Fi and not AT&T, now you're cutting out because you're getting away from your Wi-Fi. Uh-oh, we might have lost him. I think he was tied to his Wi-Fi, not like his AT&T service. There we go. Can't hear him right now, but he's got all these IBC totes cut, tops cut off, big massive sponge filters, and he's slowly been adding substrate into the bottom of them, just slowly adding it over time and slowly investing into the substrate, sprinkling it around. But there's all different kinds of Neocaridina shrimp. There's everything. Yeah, I think I hear your audio coming back.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go back to the room or house if you're gonna want to hear me, I think.
Yeah, no, but we got to see it. It definitely came through. You could see it. That's intense, man. That's impressive.
So check out this baby tears.
Oh wow, man.
And then this is about 1,000 gallons of just straight guppy grass. And I got some crips all grow and immerse.
So do you sell any plants on your website, or is it just shrimp?
So I do. I sell the dwarf baby tears. I've got a ton of hair grass I sell all the time and stuff like that. But I don't sell too much plants. I kind of leave that to Han. But one of my turtles. And then I didn't feed the koi today, so.
Where was it at Dallas? Everybody was out playing and catching. That was you, right? Didn't you get wet catching turtles? That was you. That's right.
I caught the turtle though.
That's right. You came back into the convention and your pants were wet from falling.
I had to go buy new shoes.
Oh, that's right. Yep. Oh boy. Well, we're totally at an hour. This is insane. It's impossible to see all this stuff. That's for sure. It seems like it. I mean, but I just look forward to seeing what you bring to Aquashella. It's really cool to see that shrimp competition grow. I think we lost his audio again. I think we lost your audio.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, we're good.
How are we doing on time, man? Because I think my phone's gonna die here any second.
No, that's what I was gonna say. We're at 2 hours. We pretty much you can show us your face if you want to now. We'll go ahead and close it down here. Probably should. It's perfect timing. Aquachar's in the house, hanging out for a minute. Good to see them here in the house. Everybody's having small heart attacks at the greenhouse and everything. Amber wants to put beta fish in them.
Camera. There's the woman behind the scenes that does all the hard work that I don't want to do.
I've seen her do hard work at the conventions. I know she's hustles. All right. So we'll go ahead and get out of here, man. But I appreciate it. I want to say thank you to everybody, all of my moderator supporters here in the chat. I appreciate Candy for helping out. She's been throwing out the link. She's sent out the link to your YouTube channel as well as your website, which I really appreciate that. So obviously, this is not a commercial at all, but you've got shrimp for sale. So if people want to indulge in some really awesome, to a lot of the shrimp that they saw today, they can definitely contact you through the website and get those. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on. And if anybody has any questions or needs any shrimp help, feel free to ask anytime.
Yeah,
That's
man.
Great talking to you, man.
All right. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and do my closing thing. You hang out in the background for a minute, and yeah. All right, everybody. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. I appreciate all of you, all of your support. I appreciate the super chat from King and Queen Cichlids. Hopefully there'll be some content this week if I get myself together. Besides that, we got the rack going up, and there'll be content about that. So let me get back to where am I at? Oh, I need to move the camera around. I'm making a mess. There we go. All right, guys. Well, you guys have a wonderful rest of your Sunday, and I will talk to you guys later. Remember, keep your tanks clean, your fish fed, and have fun.